Okay, there is one thing that can really disrupt the business, and it doesn't even have anything to do with the business. It has to do with the owners. So you as an owner, everybody, so don't feel bad. We all have limiting beliefs. We are all grown up with the mindset that led us to where we are today. It's your upbringing, it's the people you're around, it's your teachers, it's your school, it's the closest 5 people next to you. We all have these limiting beliefs. And these limiting beliefs are what holds the organization back. You could have the best staff, the best team, you could have a great product, but you are the leader. You're the visionary. It's your company. And if you have limiting beliefs, they will go off and they will trail to everybody else. So I've had a unique opportunity over the years to meet a lot of different people. I've been a part of the Tony Robbins organization for a long time, and JT Fox and all these people, but Tony Robbins has met with millions of people, studied different types of therapies all over the world, and recognized these patterns and kind of put them all together into what he calls neuroassociative conditioning. Neuroassociative conditioning will literally rewire your brain to help eliminate those limiting beliefs forever. And we want to be able to examine those. So there are 5 main steps. And I want to talk to you about those. So you can write these down, or obviously you can rewatch the video. I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail in each one of these categories. We can do that at a different time. I just want to give you the basics. So neuroassociative conditioning is what will allow you to break all of the habits for the good, okay, and get rid of all of the limiting beliefs that you might have. The first one, well, let's start off with this. The human brain is hardwired for pleasure, okay? Humans, unlike animals, we have pleasure circuits within our brain, and those pleasure circuits reward us for helping others, for exercising, for meditation. You can get pleasure out of those things, but it can also, at its worst, crave short-term fixes like having some sugar or grabbing a drink of alcohol or doing something, because in bad moments, those are things that pleasure us. You know, if you're ever depressed and you sit there finding yourself just kind of eating everything out of the refrigerator, why? Because it's wired into your brain as a reward, as a pleasurable reward. And we want to be able to hardwire those things out of you. And there's a very simple formula for taking care of this. So these are all based on a set of techniques from multiple different therapies that Tony Robbins has put together, and you can use it to control your life. They will break those destructive habits. So step number 1 is first to decide. The first thing that we can do in any situation is to focus. Focus is always going to come first. Focus is the what. What is it that you want? What are you trying to accomplish? Okay, once you understand the what, like let's say I'm just going to take this, not anything to do with business, but let's just say I want to go from Detroit, Michigan to Dallas, Texas. Okay, clarity is power. I can't just say I want to go from Michigan south. I can't just say I want to go from Detroit to Texas. I have to say Detroit to Dallas, Texas, and I can even get more specific by saying I'm going to go from my address or wherever the heck I am right now in this moment to 125 West Main Street, Dallas, Texas, right? You can get focused, laser focused on what it is that you want with any goal, business or personal. Focus, clarity, be clear. The next step is leverage. You have to have leverage. In order to change something, you have to have leverage as to why. So number 2 is your why. Number 2 is leverage, but it's your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you want it? Why is it important? In order to fully commit to anything, you're using the neuroassociative conditioning. We want to rewire the pleasure circuits in our brain for rewarding us for achieving our goals. You're going to ask yourself two sets of questions, really. What will it cost me if I don't do this? And how will I feel after I achieve it? So imagine being, 85 years old, and you're looking back at your life, visualizing this process and saying to yourself, did I do what I wanted to do? Did I go through the 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, did the same thing for 20 years, 30 years? My life was good, but, do you have any regrets? Or do you look back at your life and say it's full of adventure and challenges and doing the things that I wanted to do, whether or not I failed or succeeded, you lived life on your own terms. And so understanding the why, in order to fully commit to anything, you have to have enough leverage behind it in order for it to change. If you want to stop smoking, if you want to stop drinking, if you want to do something, you're not going to do it until you have enough leverage. And when you do have leverage, we'll keep moving down the chart here, but when you do have leverage, those things can change. In order for the change to really start to occur, though, step number 3 is you have to interrupt the pattern. Interrupting the pattern is action. You have to take massive action. So if we are going to now at this stage examine your limiting beliefs, what is it that is holding you back? Okay? And we all have behaviors that do not serve us very well. And again, that's from our upbringing. It's from our childhood. It's from our experiences through life. And we are who we are today. And we make the decisions that we do today based on all of that stuff. But those habits and those thinking patterns and everything that's up here hardwired into the brain led you to where you are today. And in order to make a change going forward, we have to rewire those. Now, I say this a whole lot. Different isn't always better, but better is always different. And so we have to use the neuroassociative conditioning and these techniques to rewire the pleasure circuits within your brain. Now, the biggest disruptor of that is to break the pattern, but you first have to recognize the pattern. So let's say that let's just use this as an example, is that you're a smoker. Okay. So when I see myself reaching for a cigarette, slap your hand away, literally hard, slap your hand away, disrupt that pattern. If you find yourself sitting down to watch Netflix when you should be working on your business, take the TV, unplug all the stuff behind it, take it off of the wall and go put it in the closet or the garage. Why? Because it's going to be too difficult to put it right back up. And you're just not going to. You're going to disrupt the pattern. And what you're going to do is, in a dramatic way, you have to have your mind has to associate the negative patterns. In that association of the negative, if I sit down and do this, you get slapped. If I reach for that, I get slapped. If I sit down to watch the TV, well, there is no TV, right? So I took it off. And you're going to force yourself to do the other habits. Now, when you do that, you have to also visualize that it's a positive. We have to create a new emotion, which leads to the next step. So after you've disrupted in a dramatic way, you've interrupted that pattern, you have to now create a new one. So pain with the current habits and the actions that you have to be disrupted. And when they are disrupted, you have to replace it with a new empowering emotion. So if you want to stop smoking, for example, you can't just stop smoking and that's it. You have to stop smoking and replace the habit, replace the pattern with something empowering. Chew gum, drink water, hold a pen, do something. There are breathing patterns. A lot of the times smokers misidentify the process of smoking with the inhale. What did I just do? It's not the smoke. It's not the nicotine. It's not the stuff that gives you that feeling of when you're stressed. Think about when you're stressed. What happens to your breathing? Is it deep and engaging, or is it shallow? Are you standing straight with your head up high, like all good, or are you kind of hunched over and stressed out and you got to, your face looks like this? And those are patterns. You have to recognize that, right? So simple breathing patterns will give you the feeling of relief, especially when you're angry. If you can recognize the stress kicking in, if you can recognize those moments and you disrupt the pattern with something else, that influx of energy will give you the pattern disruption that you're looking for. And you want to learn how to associate those, again, with new empowering emotions. You can't just stop something and stop something. You have to stop something and replace it with an empowering emotion, with another habit. Okay? The final step is what we call conditioning. So neuroassociative conditioning is you have to rebuild the reward centers in your brain. Okay. And how we do that is, like, the more that you perform a new action, you want to reward yourself for it. And let's say, for example, you reach for a cake. Okay. In the past, that would have been rewarding for you. That's my cheat day. It's a good thing. Oh my gosh, it tastes so good, but you're doing it out of certain things. And when we stop that and we replace that habit, you have to be able to retrain your reward center. So the more that you perform the new reward, you're going to allow yourself eventually, over time, to your brain will literally release serotonin and dopamine, and it will reward itself for that behavior. And that is literally creating new neural pathways within your brain. And it comes through repetition. But it first comes, again, we're going to repeat the steps. You have to know what it is. You got to decide what it is that you want. Once you do that, you need leverage. In order to change anything, you need leverage. Leverage is your why. Why is it a must? Once you have your why, you have to disrupt the pattern, meaning take action. You have to take action. And when you recognize the pattern, disrupt it immediately. For example, if you notice somebody else getting upset, now you can notice somebody getting upset. You think about it, right? They might start breathing differently. They might start moving around. They might get that frown. They're like, pacing back and forth a little bit. And you see somebody getting angry and you say, "Hey, I really like your shoes today," and smile. Somebody's going to say, "What the hell? What are you talking about?" Right? Especially if someone's yelling at you. They're getting angry at you. You cut somebody off and they're screaming at you through the car, and you go and say, instead of fighting back, right? Because you're going to feed that energy, break the pattern, because that fighting back, that creates your own stress, right? Because that's your own pattern. If someone's coming at me like this, I'm going to go back at them like this. Break the pattern. So when you notice it, you can say, "Hey, I really like your car." Now, that person is not used to something like that. They're used to somebody coming back at them and reacting a certain way. But when you break that pattern, not only are you doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for them. You're helping them out. So think about that with your employees and everything else. We can work on some of that stuff. But once you interrupt and break that pattern, we have to create new habits to replace the bad ones. We can't just stop it. It's not just about stopping. We have to find a way to replace them. Then when you do that, you're going to condition yourself to reward that activity through repetition. And rewarding the center in your brain will release serotonin and dopamine over time when it starts to recognize these are good things. It's learning that it's a pleasure move. Okay? And you're literally going to redo new neural pathways within your brain. We'll talk about this. There's a lot more to this. This is the simple way, because I'm not going to keep you on the video for an hour. But think about that. Decide what you want. Get your leverage. Why do you want it? Interrupt the pattern. That's the action. Create new habits to replace the old ones, and condition yourself. Perfect timing, isn't it? Okay. Well, have a good day. We'll talk more about this.